Welcome to another edition of Parents Corner. I'm your host, Shelley Davenport, and today's show, I'm going to have a couple different guests come in, and we're going to be talking about some of the learning supports that Anne Arundel County Public School has put into place to help our elementary, middle, and high school students. So my first guest today is Kevin Hamlin. Kevin, thank you so much for coming. You are the Director of Advanced Studies and Programs.
Yes, ma'am.
And I thought we'd have you first just to sort of get a big picture view of the supports that were put in place, sort of why they were put in place, and sort of an idea of what these are. So I'm going to let you get started then.
Okay. So we have three options when it comes to tutoring support for our students. At the elementary level, there is a math virtual family support. And at the middle and high school level, we have virtual homework help and tutoring. And those programs are in the evenings. They begin as early as 4 o'clock on Sunday evenings. And during the week, they run between 5 and 10 p.m. We offer tutoring and homework help at the secondary level in all of the core subject areas. So English, math, science, and social studies, world languages. But we've also expanded to include computer science. We offer some direct service for our students learning the English language, our ESOL students, and also for our avid population. So that they have the ability to access tutors or teachers in the evenings through Google Meet links. That's been going on since the first day of school. We had a group of tutors. At this point, we have over 150 tutors. They're all certified Anne Arundel County Public School teachers in their subject areas, ready and willing to assist our students in the evenings. I would like to also share that the families have the ability to register for small group tutoring in groups of no more than 4. And the virtual homework help, that's kind of anyone can come in. There's not really a cap on the number of people. We have tutors ready to receive students, and they kind of ask some initial questions to see why the student's visiting that evening. What is the specific problem? And they will use the breakout room feature of Google Meets to kind of divide and provide targeted assistance to students.
So when the students are first come in, there's somebody that sort of guides them in the right direction. Is that?
Yes, ma'am. So on our website, which is aacps.org/tutoring, there will be several links that students can follow. The first is to homework help, and that will require them to log in to our website. And from that point, they can select their subject area, whether it's high school or middle school. They can click on the Google Meet link that's provided there, and it brings them directly into a Google Meet environment. And there are teachers, just like we're on the screen now, they're ready and willing, just like they're opening the door to their virtual classroom to greet the student. So that's pretty much, you don't have to, as long as you come within the window that the homework help is offered, you can come for 5 minutes. You could stay for 45 minutes, until your questions are answered. With the tutoring, it's a little more specific on the time. We use Sign Up Genius. Students will enter a portal similar to the virtual homework help model, and they'll be directed to a Sign Up Genius for the subject area that's available for virtual tutoring. And then they can book a time and a specific date to be part of that small group of no more than 4 students. And then on the day that they are supposed to have a tutoring appointment, the tutor will send them an email to their AACPS student email account with a link for that night's session.
I love that it's teachers in Anne Arundel County Public Schools, because they really know the curriculum and so understand how it's being taught to the kids within the school system.
Correct. And they're teaching that during the day, so they're familiar with the timeliness of the questions. So you're probably bringing to the tutoring or the homework help session a question that I've covered in my classroom in the last couple of days. So it's all very timely.
In terms of timely, getting back to sort of that big picture, what was the impetus behind having these supports?
So, right. I mean, as going back to last August, we were really evaluating all of the ways we were going to deliver instruction during the day in the virtual learning environment to students, but then also considering, given this kind of radical change in how we're delivering instruction, what are our students and families going to need, in the in between time? So during the day when there's some downtime, we've put in place flex time and office hours. That's an opportunity for kids to connect with their teacher during the day. And then we are definitely going to need some type of after hours support. And this was Dr. McMahon, the assistant superintendent, her brainchild, and she asked me to kind of consider what it would look like. So we worked closely with the curriculum and instruction teams, the content leaders in these core areas, but also the Teachers Association, just to kind of see what would be reasonable. And we sent out an all call for teachers to consider, an after hours position as a tutor. And we were really overwhelmed by the response. I think teachers also recognized that their students were going to need assistance, and many of them were willing to answer that call. And so we've done training for our tutors to kind of streamline. So it's the same experience. You might not get the same tutor every evening that you log in, but with our rotating team, you're going to get the same type of service every evening, and the expectations are going to be the same. So, I think that's been very successful. We've had a lot of positive feedback from parents and from students. We've learned a lot over the first semester, in response to kind of the demand for tutoring in specific subject areas. But also this year has really been a bit of a roller coaster with closing our learning gap with respect to what is available with the technology. So much has changed since August with what is available through Google, for example, the use of breakout rooms. So that's really, it's all kind of come together, and it's resulted in a positive opportunity for kids to explore extra help in the evening.
I love that it has been a positive opportunity that we found these little things that, we might be able to use in other ways in the future. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So is the service getting used to the full potential at this point? And can I gather, and maybe this is just me and my lack of math expertise, but that math is probably the top subject?
So we're doing a lot of business in math. Okay. I put together some numbers as of the end of our first semester. And as I mentioned, we have over 150 tutors serving in the program, and they offer 106 sessions a week at the middle school level and 188 sessions a week at the high school level, both in the homework help and in the small group tutoring model. We have had to, as of the end of January, we had over 2,300 students participate in the homework help sessions, and over 1,900 students participate in the small group tutoring sessions. Now, those aren't all necessarily unique students. We do a lot of repeat business, but those are the number of people who have actually shown up. It's like a tally counter. Oh, we've had this many students coming through the homework help and tutoring sessions. All that being said, those numbers are impressive, but we have not approached the capacity that we can handle, especially in all of our subject areas. You were right. Your assumption was correct that math in particular is the most sought after service. And we offer homework help and tutoring in math beginning at grade 6 and going all the way up through AP Calculus, IB Math, and AP Statistics, and everything in between. So it just kind of depends on the time of the week, or, as we're getting close to when people are having quizzes and tests, we see some surges in utilization. But certainly there's people who have kind of fallen into a routine. They'll come, on Mondays after the weekend just to get ready for the week. We've had not a lot of turnover in the tutoring department, so there have been some relationships built when students are comfortable working with certain tutors, and so that all that is to say, we would love to have more students take advantage of the service, for sure. And we've tweaked some things over the course of the year, kind of in response to a lack of utilization. In my mind, that tells me that kids aren't necessarily needing the help beyond office hours or flex time during the day. So at the beginning of this semester, we've pivoted some of our English and social studies offerings to create student study groups in the evenings for both the advanced placement and the IB level students, where they can show up in the evening. There's a tutor there to facilitate the online exchange or the creation of breakout rooms. But really, it's the students, just like coming up to a study group that you formed at your library. Students in the same subject area bring questions and they're asking their peers for support. So that was something, again, we started just at the beginning of this month. And we're fine tuning that as more students come online and show their interest for that.
Wow. Wow. This is good stuff. Well, we are going to be talking next to Joe, and I'm not even going to try to say his last name, but he's one of the tutors on the secondary level. So I thank you. I thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about this. It was good to meet you. And yeah, we're going to take a short break and then we're going to be meeting up with Joe. Our next guest is Joe Viatoreck. Joe is a teacher specialist for the Magnet program, but he is also a lead tutor for world languages. Joe, thank you so much for joining me and giving us a little information.
Thanks for having me here, Shelley. All good.
All right. So really what I wanted to talk to you about, Kevin also sort of gave us some overarching information about this program,
Right.
but I wanted to really give people a feel for what this is like. So could you walk me through what a virtual homework meet looks like? How many people are in there? Are there any particular subjects? How do you decide how that all works?
Sure. So from a student standpoint, a student would log into the Google Classroom and then using their credentials from Anne Arundel County Public Schools, be able to click on a link. So that's the security issue that that they only come into a secure site, and the tutors are already waiting for the students to come in. So the way it's set up now is that, for example, there are several of us in Spanish, several of us in French, one in Chinese, one in American Sign Language, and we wait for the students to come in. So I'm going to give you a typical night. Let's talk about last Sunday evening. For world languages, it's 7 to 8 for some of the languages, and we're waiting for the students to come in. Students would come in and saying, hi, I'm here, I'm in this school, and I have this need. This is what I'm working on now. Can I share it with you? So a student gets to, in real time, talk with any of us, any of the tutors, and gets to share what he or she is doing in class. And then we look at that and solve the problem for the student. What usually happens is that there are more of us than the students come in. And each time a student comes in, there are 3 or 4 of us, and a student comes in, and then we take him to a separate meet room so that we could talk one-on-one. So it's a one-on-one session that we have with the students, designed though to help all students meet their needs and if they're having academic difficulties. So the student would come in, and the ability is to share the screen saying, this is what I'm working on now. Can you help me figure this out? This is what I need help with. So from the student standpoint, it's sort of the immediacy of getting questions answered. From the tutor standpoint, it's good because you get to see what's going on in other places. And so we get a feel for, certainly with my role as the lead tutor, is I get a feel for what kinds of questions the students are asking, what other teachers are doing, and what kind of tasks they're asked to do. So in my world is languages. That's my training. And I get to see then, hey, this is what they're doing. This is the part of language that the students are working on. And the students get their questions answered. I get to see that. And the tutor gets a sense of knowing, sort of, these are the questions that students are asking. So we can build a sort of a repertoire of, we already know that things are being asked of students virtually, right? So the idea behind it was to help students virtually. It's been a pretty cool experience for the kids because this has not happened before, right? So I've not had the experience personally of having a student able to ask me a question, sort of like a tutor, in real time. And so during this set time, that's been pretty cool. from the parent standpoint, the parents can rest assured that we're professionals who are answering questions so that the students are working on. So, and it could be, it's very varied in what the kinds of questions the students have and the tasks that they need. But it's good for the parents too, because this is something now that the school system is supporting the students in. So again, born out of virtual necessity, but certainly having this tool is a great one for the students, for the parents, and then for us as the tutors. Now, from the teacher standpoint, I can't emphasize enough that if teachers would, sort of, um, publicize that we exist, right? So we can help them. So we're meant as supports that they, haven't may not have used yet, and that we could help them in the classroom. So that's just another way to support everybody in the system. It's a big lift for everybody to kind of rise up together, and we can do it together. So it's a very cool. It's a very neat idea that we is coming to
I,
fruition. Yeah.
no, I think it's really been sort of a silver lining because there's been so much
Mhm.
learned from it. So you're specifically the lead tutor for world languages. So then there's probably a lead tutor for mathematics and a lead. So
Right.
they're all different subjects, but the kids would pick that subject, correct?
And sometimes it's level, sometimes it's middle school and high school. The students then get to choose, hey, I'm having trouble in X, or I have a question about this language or social studies, or there's something you know, um, in whatever area it's in. ESOL students can also do that too. So there are lots of supports for the system, and we're looking at the larger academic ones, and seeing what the students may need for a support system. Right. So that's the students get to choose. The parents can guide them. Certainly, if a parent wanted to help at home, saying, "Hey, Johnny, what are you doing in school?" And after the initial question, most students answer nothing, or okay, I'm doing fine, and that may not be the truth, right? So after the initial sort of response, you can say, "Well, is there anything that you're struggling with?" And so, if the student is saying, "I'm struggling with X," and that's the tutoring system then can really help with sort of answering those questions, or at least making them feel connected, right? Um, and I think you said this, but I want to reiterate, this is the serendipitous moment of education. Is like we have these tools that students and teachers and parents are now comfortable with after
Right.
nearly a year, right? And it's a great tool to have, and it's scheduled. It provides stability, and it provides actually the contact that students may need. So I think it's a great tool to have.
So
And
Joe, you mentioned parents, and that sort of leads me to that one question. And I think in a way you've answered it. Um, about when kids trying to get them to use this. So what you're saying is parents could use this as a tool at the dinner table when they say, "Are you having any trouble?" Is that sort of where you're going with that? That they
yeah,
could
I mean,
bring that to the kids?
sure. Anytime that the parent can have a conversation with the child about how things are going in school academically, where this is the academic support. Other kinds of supports exist in the system, but this is the academic support, and it's a nice way to have a conversation. It may also be something that the parent might think about. Hey, I hadn't really thought about how you're doing in this or that. Sort of course, how are you doing? And let me see some evidence of that, right? And this can provide some of the evidence. This gives the parents evidence that the students are doing this, and this is what we're having to submit in Google Classroom, or this is an activity, and I want to help and so I can talk about my world of language acquisition. This can help the students understand language in a way and have you know a different mindset about it. So in a 24-hour day for any student and parent, most of the day of the students is in English for the students whose parents speak English at home. This is a way to add to that repertoire and saying, well, during this time I have my class, but also during this time now at night, I can have my French or Spanish or Chinese course. I can have at least mm, the questions answered about that. If I had a question about it, I don't have to wait till tomorrow, because in English you can, if you're, and this is a generalization, right? If you're in English and you have a question about English for content, you have other people to support you at home. You may not have a Spanish speaker, a French speaker, or a Chinese speaker at home.
Right.
And this is a way to have, hey, we're going to give you support. And it's another way to sort of foment the language acquisition process for the students. So all told, it's a great great
Right.
tool to use, right?
So we only have about a minute left, but I have to ask you because I've been a librarian. I love stories. So do you have any really good stories for us about, and the story might sort of allay everyone's fears about going into that
Uh,
space.
It was a great moment. Last week I was talking to a student and he said, "Hey, I'm in 8th grade. I'm in the school." And we went on to the business. It was French at that point. And I said, "Well," I just said, "Well, did you apply to a magnet program?" He said, "Well, yeah, I'm waiting for my offers for the magnet programs. And since I'm in charge of them," I said, "Well, you might want to look at you might want to look at your emails. Start coming soon. It's, coming to your mailbox soon." But it was a nice way to talk to him. And I I hadn't thought about that before. And he just mentioned it. And I thought it was a great moment in which I could help him with his French, right?
Right.
And it was also good, but also like, hey, this is another part of your life, and you just happen to be talking to the guy who would be helping you out and
Right.
accept your seats for you. And it was a good moment. I thought it was good. And for the parents who want to inspire their children, like this is another way. Students often tell people, adults that it may not even know, um, things that they wouldn't tell their parents, right? So there's some students that do that. So that's
Ah,
the moment. So thank you again
relationship
for having
building,
me.
right?
Yeah, and it's all about good relationships and
Yeah.
supporting students. So thank you again. I appreciate you letting
Well,
me come
thank
here.
you. Thank you. And so we're going to be taking a short break, and then we're going to be coming to another lead tutor for elementary math. Our next guest is Laura Williams. Laura is a 5th grade teacher at Severn Elementary School, but she's also a lead primary tutor for elementary math virtual family support. Laura, thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to see you and get some information on this support. It sounds really interesting, and I know that we have lots of families that are looking for those kinds of things to help them. So I guess, what can you tell me? What is this, and how does it work?
Well, thank you for having me. This program it's awesome. It's a great way to support students, but also their families. So the elementary virtual support is for parents, guardians, adults who work that work with students. It is intended to help with situations where students are like, my teacher didn't do it that way, or when adults are trying to help their child with elementary math concepts, and the child's like, but we don't learn it that way, because math is very different the way we teach it now. Math is the same, but the way students are learning it, we want to ensure that they're getting that conceptual understanding. Math is visual, math is social, so the way teachers are teaching it to students now is different than when we learned math. So oftentimes adults don't know what is going on in the classroom and need support in answering problems or using strategies. So this program is awesome at supporting parents with helping their child with all sorts of math concepts.
I'm going to raise my hand and admit it. My daughter, 4th grade, said, Mom, they told me you weren't going to understand how to do this, and I didn't. When they use the support, what does it look like? Because I know we're going to have a lot of parents that are sort of like me, like math it didn't come easy to them. So they would be sort of almost nervous about asking for that help, as silly as that might sound. But so what does it look like when you're in this?
So when a parent accesses our link, so when that happens, and parents can access our link by going to aacps.org/tutoring. And when they are on that site and you scroll to the bottom, there's a section for elementary math. And when you click the button for elementary math, it brings up a choice of either primary or intermediate. And so we separated it. We have that all of our tutors are Anne Arundel County Public Schools employees, so teachers, and resource teachers that work with students in the building. So when parents log in, they're either going to log into the primary link if their child is pre-K through second grade, or if their child is third grade through fifth grade, they're going to use the intermediate link. And when they enter the Meet, they would either see me because I work with primary, or Miss Amentes, who works with the intermediate. And from there, we would say, hey, how are you? Are you looking for math support tonight? And get a little bit of information of what grade level they're looking for. And then from there, we use breakout rooms in our Google Meet, which are really awesome. So each one of our tutors is alone in a different breakout room. And so we can easily find out what grade that the parent is seeking support for and match them with a teacher that is able to support them in that grade level. And then the tutor would ask, what concept are you working on? And the great thing about, the math curriculum is that it's, consistent. So if they're saying, we're working on this, then the teachers can pull that up right there in the curriculum. They can access it. They can see the questions they're working on, the tasks that they've been assigned. So they would find the task or the question, and then they would work through how, teachers are approaching that problem, the problem solving techniques that we go through. I mentioned that math is very visual. So the nice thing about being in a Google Meet and in a private breakout room is that teachers can share their screen with the parent. And it's as if the parent would be in a lesson, with their child during the day, because these tutors are teachers in the building, they're using the same I want to say technology and, I guess strategies, but the visual like slides and manipulatives, the virtual manipulatives are the same that they would be showing the parents that they would use with the students. And even if, a parent has just a particular question about a specific problem, the tutor would be able to walk them through that. So basically, we're there to support parents with whatever questions they have, whether it's a particular question or a concept. So really just whatever the parents need.
So they could go in and just say, hey, we're really struggling with division. That was my big one. So they could say that, or they could go in and say, we're working on this specific problem today, and can you help us work through it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then, so when they're in there, do they always have their students sort of sitting behind them, and so they're working on it together, or do you have just moms or dads or grandmas? I mean, it could be anybody, but just all by themselves. How does that usually look?
The whole range. So, which is awesome. So we've had grandparents, I've had aunts and uncles, parents. Sometimes the child is there, sometimes they're not. I love when they're there because I think it also, if the child is there with the parent, the child can kind of hear us again going over it with the parent, so they're hearing it from us. Then the parent is also getting the strategies and then can reiterate that to the child once the meet is over. But they do not have to be there. So it's really, it depends on, the family. So any adult that's working with a child, we're happy to help.
It's actually sort of cool. I pictured this whole family sitting there and working on a math problem virtually. It's sort of, a nice. In terms of technology, is this something where, I mean, I think almost every student now has a school issued Chromebook. So can the parent use that school issued Chromebook to get in there? And if they don't want to use that, can they use their own computer or laptop? How does that, it doesn't make a difference in terms of when they go on, correct?
Nope. It doesn't matter what technology they use. If they are trying to show us an activity or a problem, like if they wanted to share their screen, it would help to be on the student's Chromebook so that the student's account could be pulled up so that the teacher could see it. But it's not necessary. Parents are able to access it even from their phone. We've had parents and grandparents pull up our Google Meet on their phone because they were somewhere else besides home, and they're like, hey, we just wanted to touch base on how I could work through this problem. And they didn't need to share their screen. They just needed support in how to, solve the problem. So really, it doesn't matter how you access it, as long as, it has to be a technology with obviously internet capabilities, but as long as you're accessing it from the website and using the primary or the intermediate link, and you have Google Meet, you're able to access it and get some support from our amazing tutors.
I love that. I love it. So before we finish, we only have about a minute left. Do you have any really great stories about how this looks? And I have that image of a whole entire family talking about math online. But any good stories for us?
I do. Something that I love seeing is that we have some families that come back every week. I have a grandmother who I see every week, and she logs in around the same time, and she works with a specific tutor. They've built up a relationship and a rapport. I also have another father who him and his daughter frequently sign on every week and receive support. So we know that it's helping. And I love seeing that they're also building that relationship with these tutors. They're working with them and they're getting the support they need, and it's helping, and they're coming back for more. So we love that.
Wow. Sounds like a silver lining. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me today and telling us about this awesome program. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.